In our previous session, we explored the topic of kitchen tools and equipment, where we discussed different types of equipment used in a professional kitchen, their functions, materials, and appropriate applications. Today, we are going to continue our discussion and deepen our understanding of kitchen tools and equipment. In the previous material, we introduced a wide range of equipment, from cooking and processing equipment to holding and storage equipment, pots and pans, measuring devices, knives, and various hand tools. As culinary professionals, knowing the name of an equipment is not enough. We also need to understand how it works, what its specific function is, and when we should use it appropriately. Choosing the right tool or equipment can influence efficiency, consistency, food quality, and safety in the kitchen. So as we continue this topic, I would like you to pay attention not only to the equipment itself, but also to its practical application in a professional culinary environment. Once again, I am Chef Heru Pramudia, A.Md, S.ST.Par, M.Sc, a lecturer in culinary arts at Politeknik Internasional Bali, as well as an accreditation assessor and ISO auditor. All right, let's continue our learning journey and explore kitchen tools and equipment in greater detail. Let's get started. Now we move to the next major category, processing equipment. If cooking equipment is mainly used to cook food, processing equipment helps us with the preparation of ingredients before and during production. These tools can make tasks such as mixing, grinding, slicing, blending, and cutting much faster and more consistent. Let's look at some examples on the slide. First, mixers. These are commonly used to mix dough and batter, particularly in bakery and pastry production. Second, grinder machine. This equipment is used to grind ingredients, especially meat, into a finer and more uniform texture. Next, we have the food processor. This is a multifunctional machine that can perform several preparation tasks, such as cutting, chopping, mixing, and shredding. Then, sous vide equipment. This equipment is used to cook food in a vacuum-sealed bag at a precisely controlled temperature. The objective is to achieve consistent cooking results. We also have the immersion blender, or stick blender. Unlike a conventional blender, this tool can be used directly inside a container or cooking vessel, making it useful for preparing soups, sauces, and purees. The blender is commonly used to process fruits, vegetables, sauces, juices, and other liquid preparations. Next is the slicer, which is designed to produce thin and consistent slices of products such as meat, cheese, or vegetables. And finally, the slide shows the rotation cutter, which is used for cutting or processing larger quantities of ingredients, particularly in food service and production operations. So what is the main lesson from this slide? Processing equipment helps us save time, improve efficiency, and create more standardized results. In a professional kitchen, preparation can take a significant amount of time. By using the right processing equipment, we can increase productivity while maintaining consistency. But remember, professional equipment does not replace culinary skills. The chef still needs to understand the ingredient, the desired result, the correct equipment, and the appropriate operating technique. Now let's move to another important category of kitchen equipment, hot holding equipment. Hot holding equipment is used to keep cooked food warm after preparation until it is ready to be served. This is especially important in hotels, restaurants, catering operations, and buffet service. There are 3 examples shown on this slide. First, the steam table. This is commonly used on serving lines to keep food warm. It uses hot water or steam beneath the food containers and is widely used for buffets, catering, and self-service operations. Second, the hot display counter. This equipment allows ready-to-serve food to be displayed while maintaining its temperature. Besides keeping the food warm, the display also helps make the food visually attractive to customers. Third, we have overhead infrared lamps. These lamps are positioned above the plating or serving area and help maintain the temperature of plated food while waiting to be picked up by the service staff. So why is hot holding important? Because the cooking process does not always mean the food is immediately served. There may be a waiting period between production, plating, and service. During this time, we need to maintain the appropriate temperature and protect the quality of the food. The key point to remember is hot holding equipment helps maintain food temperature and quality between cooking and service. As culinary professionals, we need to understand that good food is not only about how we cook it, we also need to manage the food properly until it reaches the guest. Now let's take a closer look at another type of hot holding equipment called the hot box or hot holding cabinet. A hot box is designed to keep cooked food warm and maintain its temperature until it is ready to be served. So remember that its main function is holding, not cooking. This equipment is particularly useful in professional kitchens, hotels, catering operations, and banquet events where food may need to wait before reaching the guest. There are several types of hot boxes. First, the static hot holding cabinet, which uses a heating element to maintain a stable temperature. Second, the humidified hot holding cabinet. This type adds humidity to help prevent food from becoming too dry during the holding process. It can be useful for products such as rice, bread, or certain pastry products. Third, the portable hot box or banquet cart. As the name suggests, this type is mobile and can be moved to different areas, making it very useful for banquet and catering operations. It can also accommodate multiple gastronorm pans. The main advantage of a hot box is that it helps us maintain food temperature and quality during the waiting period before service. However, there is an important limitation. A hot box is not a replacement for an oven or microwave. Its purpose is to maintain the food after cooking, not to perform the cooking process itself. We also need to remember that holding food for too long can affect its quality. Some foods may become dry, soft, or lose their original texture. So the key concept for you to remember is hot box =, holding food at the appropriate temperature until service. As culinary professionals, we need to think beyond cooking. Food safety, temperature control, holding time, and product quality are all part of professional kitchen operations. Now, let's move from hot holding to another very important part of kitchen operations, cold food storage equipment. Cold food storage equipment is used to keep ingredients and food products at controlled cold temperatures. The main purpose is to maintain freshness, extend shelf life, and reduce the risk of bacterial growth. In a professional kitchen, proper cold storage is an essential part of food preservation and food safety. Let's look at the equipment shown on this slide. First, we have the reach-in refrigerator or chiller. This is commonly used to store ingredients that are frequently needed during food preparation. Because the products are easily accessible, it is very practical for daily kitchen operations. Second, the cold showcase or cake showcase. This equipment is commonly found in bakeries, cafes, and restaurants. It has two functions: keeping products cold and displaying them attractively. For example, it can be used for cakes, desserts, beverages, or other chilled products. Third, we have the chest freezer. Unlike a refrigerator cabinet, this freezer opens from the top and provides a relatively large storage capacity. It is useful for storing frozen products such as meat, seafood, ice cream, and other frozen ingredients. And finally, there is the walk-in chiller or walk-in freezer. This is essentially a large refrigerated room designed for high-volume food storage. It is commonly found in large hotels, restaurants, catering operations, and food production facilities. For culinary students, I want you to remember that cold storage is not simply about putting food into a refrigerator. We need to understand what product we are storing, what temperature it requires, how long it will be stored, and how we organize the products to prevent cross-contamination. Based on the material, the general temperature ranges include chiller around 0.5 degrees Celsius for fresh ingredients such as vegetables, fruits, dairy products, and other chilled foods. Freezer around -18 degrees Celsius for frozen products such as meat, seafood, poultry, and other frozen ingredients. And cold showcase around 5 to 8 degrees Celsius for displaying ready-to-serve chilled products. One more important point: cold storage equipment must be cleaned and maintained regularly. Poor hygiene or unstable temperatures can affect both food quality and food safety. So the key message from this slide is cold storage protects the quality, freshness, and safety of our ingredients. As future culinary professionals, you are responsible not only for preparing food correctly, but also for storing ingredients correctly before they reach the cooking process. Before we continue, let's have a quick review. Take a look at the two ovens on the screen. At first glance, they may look similar, but their heating systems and applications are different. The oven on the left is a convection oven. Its main characteristic is the use of a fan to circulate hot air inside the oven. This allows heat to be distributed more evenly and can make the cooking process faster. Because of this characteristic, convection ovens are particularly suitable for products such as pastry, cookies, puff pastry, and croissant, especially when we want a relatively crisp and even result. Now, look at the oven on the right. This is a deck oven or baking oven. It uses heat from the top and bottom, providing stable heat during the baking process. This type of oven is commonly associated with products such as bread and pizza, where the characteristics of the heat can contribute to the desired texture and browning. So if I ask you, what is the main difference between these two ovens? The easiest way to remember it is convection oven, circulating hot air using a fan. Deck oven, stable heat from the top and bottom. As culinary students, don't just memorize the names of the equipment. Try to understand the relationship between the heating system, the type of product, and the final result. Because when you become a chef, choosing the right equipment is part of making the right culinary decision. Now let's move to another important topic: pots, pans, and containers. As culinary professionals, we need to understand that the material of a cooking utensil can influence heat distribution, cooking performance, durability, and how we handle the equipment. The first material is aluminium. Aluminium is one of the most commonly used materials in kitchen equipment because it is lightweight and a good conductor of heat. This makes it suitable for various pots, pans, and baking trays. However, aluminium also has some limitations. It can be easily scratched, and according to our material, it is not suitable for highly acidic foods. The second material is non-stick coated, commonly associated with Teflon-type coatings. The main advantage is the non-stick surface, which allows us to cook with less oil and makes cleaning easier. However, we need to take care of the coating. Excessive heat or the use of metal utensils can damage the surface. The third material is ceramic or heat-proof glass. These materials are suitable for applications such as baking and gratin dishes because they can withstand heat and do not readily react with food. However, compared with metal equipment, they are generally more fragile, so we need to handle them carefully. So the important lesson from this slide is, different materials have different strengths and limitations. As culinary students, don't just choose a pot or pan based on its appearance. Think about the material, the cooking method, the ingredients, and the final result you want to achieve. Understanding these differences will help you use kitchen equipment more effectively and professionally. Next, we have another important material used in professional cookware: copper. Copper is known as one of the best conductors of heat among cooking materials. This means it can transfer heat very efficiently, and more importantly, it responds very quickly when we increase or decrease the temperature. This characteristic makes copper particularly useful when we need precise temperature control, especially when preparing delicate foods. Copper cookware is commonly associated with saucepans, particularly for preparations such as sauces where temperature control is very important. However, copper also has some disadvantages. First, it is relatively expensive compared with many other cookware materials. Second, copper requires more maintenance to keep its condition and appearance. For food applications, copper cookware is often lined with another material, such as tin or stainless steel, as indicated in our material. So the key point to remember is copper, excellent heat conductivity, and very responsive temperature control. As culinary professionals, this is important because the material of a pan can directly influence how quickly and precisely we can control the cooking process. Next, we have stainless steel, one of the most widely used materials in professional kitchens. Stainless steel is known for being resistant to rust, strong, and durable. This makes it suitable for equipment that needs to withstand frequent use in a professional kitchen. Another important advantage is that stainless steel is relatively non-reactive with acidic or alkaline foods. This makes it suitable for various types of food preparation and storage. In professional kitchens, stainless steel is commonly used for large cooking pots, serving equipment, and food storage containers. However, stainless steel has one limitation. It is not as good a heat conductor as materials such as aluminium or copper. That is why some stainless steel cookware is designed with an aluminium or copper layer at the bottom. This helps improve heat distribution while maintaining the strength and durability of stainless steel. So the key point to remember is stainless steel, strong, durable, corrosion resistant, and suitable for food contact, but requires improved heat conductivity for cooking applications. As culinary professionals, understanding this material helps us choose equipment that is appropriate not only for cooking, but also for food storage, preparation, and service. Next, we have cast iron or besi-core. Cast iron is well known for its ability to retain heat for a long time. This characteristic makes it very useful when we want stable and sustained heat during the cooking process. Cast iron is commonly used for slow cooking, grilling, and skillets. Because it can maintain a high and stable temperature, it is also excellent for creating a strong browning effect on the surface of food. However, cast iron also has some limitations. The first is its weight. Cast iron cookware is considerably heavier than materials such as aluminium. The second is that it requires proper maintenance, particularly seasoning, to maintain its cooking performance and condition. So the key point to remember is cast iron, excellent heat retention, and excellent browning, but heavy and requires proper maintenance. As culinary professionals, understanding the characteristics of cast iron helps us choose the right cookware when a recipe requires stable heat, slow cooking, or strong browning. Next, we have ceramic and heat-proof glass. These materials are designed to withstand high temperatures, making them particularly suitable for cooking and baking applications. They are commonly used for baking dishes and gratin dishes, especially when we want to cook and serve the food in the same container. Another advantage is that ceramic and heat-proof glass are generally non-reactive with food. This means they are suitable for preparing a variety of ingredients without significantly affecting the food. However, there is an important limitation. These materials are more fragile than metal. Therefore, we need to handle them carefully, especially when moving them from a hot environment or when cleaning them. So the key point to remember is ceramic and heat-proof glass, heat-resistant and suitable for baking, but more fragile than metal. As culinary professionals, choosing the right material is important because every material has its own strengths, limitations, and appropriate applications in the kitchen. Next, we have non-stick coated cookware, commonly known as Teflon. As the name suggests, this cookware has a non-stick coating on its surface. This makes it suitable for cooking with less oil, which can be useful for certain cooking preparations. One of its main advantages is that it is easy to clean and practical to use. Food is less likely to stick to the cooking surface, making the cleaning process much easier after cooking. However, we also need to take care of the coating. If the cookware is exposed to excessively high temperatures or is scratched with metal utensils, the non-stick coating can become damaged or peel. So when using non-stick cookware, we need to pay attention to temperature control and the type of utensils we use. The key point to remember is non-stick cookware, practical, easy to clean, and suitable for cooking with less oil, but the coating requires careful handling. As culinary professionals, proper equipment use is not only about achieving a good cooking result, but also about maintaining the condition and service life of the equipment we use. Next, we have heat-proof glass. As the name suggests, heat-proof glass is designed to withstand high temperatures, making it suitable for cooking and baking applications. It is commonly used for baking and gratin dishes, where the container needs to withstand the heat generated during the cooking process. Another important characteristic is that heat-proof glass is non-reactive with food. This makes it suitable for preparing different types of ingredients without affecting the food. However, we also need to remember its main limitation. Heat-proof glass is more fragile than metal cookware. Therefore, we need to handle it carefully during cooking, cleaning, and storage. So the key point to remember is heat-proof glass, heat-resistant, suitable for baking and gratin, but more fragile than metal. As culinary professionals, understanding the characteristics and limitations of each material helps us choose, use, and maintain our kitchen equipment properly. Now let's continue with 4 other materials that we can find in kitchen equipment and food containers. First, enamelware. Enamelware is made from metal coated with a layer of enamel, which is similar to a glass coating. This surface is smooth, easy to clean, and resistant to rust. It is also generally non-reactive with food. However, we need to handle it carefully. If the enamel coating is chipped or damaged, the metal underneath can become exposed and may eventually rust. Second, we have earthenware, or traditional clay and pottery. Earthenware is often associated with traditional cooking because it can contribute a distinctive character or aroma to certain dishes. It is also resistant to corrosion. However, earthenware is fragile and can break easily. It also does not conduct heat as efficiently or evenly as metal cookware. Third, plastic containers. Plastic containers are lightweight, affordable, and practical, making them useful for storing dry foods, snacks, or ingredients such as spices. But we need to remember that not all plastic is suitable for high temperatures. Some plastic containers can melt or react with hot or oily foods, so we must always consider the appropriate type of container for the intended use. And finally, we have wooden containers and utensils. Wood is a poor conductor of heat, which makes wooden utensils such as spatulas and spoons comfortable and practical to use. Wooden equipment can also provide a natural and traditional appearance. However, wood can absorb water and odors, so it requires proper care and maintenance. Frequent exposure to water can also shorten its service life. So from these 4 materials, we can see an important principle. Every material has advantages and limitations. As culinary professionals, we need to understand these characteristics so that we can select the right material for the right purpose, while also maintaining proper hygiene, safety, and equipment condition. Now let's move to another important topic. Now we move to one of the most essential categories of equipment in any professional kitchen, knives and hand tools. If we look at the image, we can see several types of kitchen knives with different blade shapes and sizes. For a culinary professional, knives are not simply cutting tools. The type of knife we choose should be related to the ingredient, the cutting technique, and the desired result. Different blade shapes are designed to provide different levels of control, precision, and efficiency during food preparation. This is also an area where safety is extremely important. A professional chef needs to understand how to select, handle, use, clean, and store knives correctly. As you continue learning culinary arts, you will become familiar with different types of knives and their specific functions, as well as other hand tools used for preparation. So the key message for this section is, the right knife, used with the right technique, improves efficiency, precision, and safety in the kitchen. And remember, a good culinary professional does not need to use the most expensive knife. What matters is understanding the function of the tool and using it correctly and safely. Now let's take a closer look at the anatomy of a knife. Understanding the parts of a knife is important because each part has a specific function and contributes to the knife's performance, balance, comfort, and safety. Let's start from the front of the knife. The first part is the tip. This is the pointed end of the blade. It is useful for detailed work, such as making small cuts or working with delicate ingredients. Next is the blade. This is the main part of the knife used for cutting. The length and thickness of the blade can vary depending on the type of knife. The spine is the upper non-sharp part of the blade. It provides strength to the blade and can also be used when applying pressure to certain ingredients. Then we have the belly. This is the curved section of the blade. Its shape is particularly useful for techniques such as rock chopping, where the knife moves in a rocking motion. The cutting edge is the sharp part of the blade that actually performs the cutting. Keeping this edge sharp is important for both precision and safety. Moving toward the handle, we have the heel. This is the rear section of the blade close to the handle. It provides more cutting power and can be useful when working with harder ingredients. The bolster is the thicker section between the blade and the handle. It helps protect the fingers and contributes to the balance of the knife. Next is the handle, which is where we hold the knife. A good handle should be comfortable and provide a secure grip. Inside the handle is the tang. This is the extension of the blade that enters the handle. A full tang generally provides good strength and balance. The rivets are the small fasteners that secure the tang and handle together. And finally, we have the butt, which is the very end of the handle. So I want you to remember that a knife is not simply one piece of metal with a handle. It consists of several components, and understanding each part will help you use, maintain, and select knives more professionally. In the next part, we will look at different types of knives and understand which knife is appropriate for which culinary task. Now, let's continue with knives and their uses. As we discussed in the previous slide, different parts of a knife have different functions. In the same way, different types of knives are designed for different culinary tasks. Let's look at the 4 knives shown on this slide. Number 1 is the chef's knife. The chef's knife is one of the most commonly used knives in the kitchen. It is a general-purpose knife, especially suitable for chopping and preparing a wide variety of ingredients. Because of its versatility, this knife is often considered one of the most important basic tools for a culinary professional. Number 2 is the santoku knife. The santoku has a wide blade and, according to the slide, is usually around 13 to 18 centimeters long. Its wide blade provides a good working surface and makes it useful for general food preparation. Number 3 is the utility knife. The utility knife shown here is approximately 6 to 8 inches long. It can be used for various preparation tasks, particularly pantry work, such as handling fruits and lettuce, as well as carving smaller portions of chicken or duck. Number 4 is the paring knife. The paring knife is a small knife designed for more detailed preparation work. It is commonly used for trimming vegetables and fruit, especially when precision and control are required. So let's review the 4 knives. Chef's knife, general purpose chopping and food preparation. Santoku knife, wide blade knife for general preparation. Utility knife, pantry work and smaller carving tasks. Paring knife trimming vegetables and fruit. The important lesson here is that knife selection should match the task. Using the appropriate knife can improve efficiency, precision, and control during food preparation. As culinary students, don't just memorize the names of knives. Try to understand what each knife is designed to do and when you should use it. Let's continue with the next 4 types of kitchen knives. Number 5 is the boning knife. The boning knife has a thin blade, approximately 16 centimeters long, and is specifically designed for boning. Its shape allows the cook to work around bones with greater precision. Number 6 is the slicer. As the name suggests, the slicer is used for carving and slicing cooked meat. Its long blade allows us to make longer and more consistent cuts. Number 7 is the serrated slicer. This knife is similar to a regular slicer, but it has a serrated cutting edge. According to the slide, it is used for cutting bread and cakes. The serrated edge helps the knife cut through products without simply pressing down and crushing them. Number 8 is the butcher knife. The butcher knife has a heavy, broad, and curved blade. It is designed for heavier preparation work, particularly cutting, trimming, and processing meat. So let's review. Boning knife boning. Slicer carving and slicing cooked meat. Serrated slicer, cutting bread and cakes. Butcher knife, cutting and trimming meat. Notice how the shape, thickness, and edge of the blade correspond to its function. A thin blade provides precision. A long blade helps with slicing. A serrated edge is useful for products such as bread and cakes, while a heavy and broad blade provides greater strength for meat preparation. Therefore, as culinary professionals, we should always consider the type of ingredient and preparation technique before selecting a knife. Choosing the correct knife is not only about efficiency, it also contributes to better control, consistent results, and safe working practices in the kitchen. Let's continue with the next 4 types of knives. Number 9 is the steak knife or scimitar. This knife has a curved pointed blade and is designed for cutting steak. The curved shape helps provide an effective cutting motion when working with cooked meat. Number 10 is the cleaver. The cleaver has a broad and heavy blade. It is primarily used for cutting through bones and for heavier cutting tasks. Because of its weight and blade construction, the cleaver is designed for applications that require more force than a standard kitchen knife. Number 11 is the oyster knife. The oyster knife is a short, blunt knife with a dull edge. It is specifically designed for opening oysters. Unlike a conventional cutting knife, the oyster knife relies on its sturdy construction and blunt tip to help open the oyster shell. Number 12 is the clam knife. The clam knife is short, broad, and has a slightly edged blade. It is used for opening clams. So let's review these 4 knives: steak knife or scimitar cutting steak, cleaver cutting bones, oyster knife, opening oysters, clam knife, opening clams. You can see that these knives are becoming increasingly specialized. Unlike the chef's knife, which can perform many general preparation tasks, these knives are designed for specific ingredients or specific culinary operations. Therefore, when working in a professional kitchen, understanding the function and design of each knife helps us select the appropriate tool for the job. And remember, specialized knives should always be handled carefully because using the wrong technique can increase the risk of injury. Now, let's continue with the final tool shown on this slide. Number 13 is the vegetable peeler. A vegetable peeler is a small hand tool used to remove the skin or outer layer of vegetables and fruits. It is also useful for preparing ingredients that require thin and controlled peeling before cooking. Number 14 is a steel sharpener. The steel sharpener is used for sharpening knives or maintaining the knife edge. Regular maintenance helps keep the knife in good working condition and supports more precise cutting. Remember, a properly maintained knife can provide better control during food preparation. Number 15 is the cutting board. A cutting board provides a stable and hygienic surface for cutting and preparing food. In a professional kitchen, cutting boards are particularly important from a food safety and HACCP perspective. Different food products may require appropriate cutting board practices to reduce the risk of cross-contamination. So, let's review. Vegetable peeler peeling vegetables and fruits. Steel sharpener, maintaining or sharpening the knife edge. Cutting board, safe and hygienic food preparation. These tools may look simple, but they are used continuously in the kitchen. A professional culinary worker needs to understand not only how to use each tool, but also how to maintain it, clean it, and use it safely. At this point, we have discussed a wide range of knives and hand tools. The important lesson is that the right tool should always match the task. Good knife skills, proper tool selection, and hygienic work practices are fundamental competencies for every culinary professional. Another important category of kitchen equipment: hand tools. Hand tools are small pieces of equipment that help us perform specific preparation, cooking, serving, and finishing tasks. Although they are relatively simple, they can significantly improve efficiency, precision, and consistency in the kitchen. Let's look at the tools shown on this slide. First is the ball cutter, or Parisienne cutter. This tool is used to create small, round shapes from fruits and vegetables. It is commonly used for garnishing and presentation. Next is the cook's fork. A cook's fork is useful for handling, turning, and checking food, particularly during cooking or carving. The next tool is the palette knife or straight spatula. It is commonly used for spreading, smoothing, and lifting food products. In pastry work, it can be very useful for spreading cream, icing, or other preparations evenly. Then we have the sandwich spreader. As the name suggests, this tool is designed for spreading ingredients onto bread, such as butter, mayonnaise, or other sandwich fillings. Next is the offset spatula. The offset design provides better control when spreading and smoothing food products, especially in pastry and cake decoration. We also have the rubber spatula. This tool is commonly used for mixing, folding, scraping, and transferring mixtures from one container to another. Its flexible edge helps us minimize product waste by scraping the sides of bowls and containers. The pie server is used for cutting and serving pie or similar baked products. Its flat, triangular shape helps support the product while transferring it to a plate. And finally, we have the bench cutter, or dough cutter. This tool is commonly used in bakery preparation to divide, cut, and handle dough. It can also help scrape dough or ingredients from the working surface. So, let's summarize the tools on this slide. Ball cutter, creating round shapes from fruits and vegetables. Cook's fork, handling and checking food. Palette knife, spreading and smoothing. Sandwich spreader, spreading sandwich ingredients. Offset spatula, spreading and finishing food products. Rubber spatula, mixing, folding, and scraping. Pie server, serving pie and similar products. Bench cutter, cutting and handling dough. The important point is that hand tools are task-specific. A professional chef should know not only the name of each tool, but also when and how to use it effectively. Even though these tools are small, using the correct hand tool can make preparation faster, cleaner, and more precise. Now, let's continue with another group of hand tools that are commonly used in professional kitchens. First, we have the pastry wheel, or wheel cutter. This tool is commonly used to cut pastry dough. Its rotating wheel allows us to make clean and controlled cuts, particularly when preparing pastry products. Next is the china cap. A china cap is a cone-shaped strainer with relatively larger openings. It is commonly used to strain liquids and separate larger food particles from stocks, sauces, or other preparations. Then we have the chinois. The chinois is a fine, cone-shaped strainer used when we need a smoother and more refined result. It is particularly useful for straining stocks, sauces, soups, and other liquid preparations. Next is the strainer. A strainer is used to separate solid ingredients from liquids. It can be used for a variety of preparation tasks, such as draining or filtering ingredients. We also have the wire whip or balloon whisk. This tool is used for whisking and incorporating air into mixtures. It can be used for eggs, cream, sauces, batters, and other preparations that require mixing or aeration. Next is the food tongs. Tongs are used to grip, turn, transfer, and handle food without directly touching it with our hands. They are useful during cooking as well as plating and service. The skimmer is another important tool. A skimmer has a perforated surface that allows us to remove food particles, foam, or solid ingredients from liquids while allowing the liquid to drain back into the pot. And finally, we have different types of spoons, including slotted, perforated, and solid spoons. These spoons have different functions depending on their design. Slotted or perforated spoons allow liquid to drain while retaining solid food, while solid spoons are more suitable for stirring, transferring, or serving liquids and food. So, let's review. Pastry wheel, cutting pastry dough. China cap, straining liquids and larger particles. Chinois, fine straining for smoother preparations. Strainer, separating solids from liquids. Wire whip, whisking and incorporating air. Food tongs, gripping and handling food. Skimmer, removing solids or foam from liquids. Slotted, perforated, and solid spoons, different preparation and serving functions. The key point is that professional kitchens use many small tools to achieve specific results. The better we understand the function of each tool, the more efficiently and accurately we can work. So don't underestimate these simple hand tools. In culinary practice, the right small tool can make a significant difference in the final result. Now, let's continue with another group of hand tools that are commonly used for preparing, cutting, shaping, and processing ingredients. First, we have the tamis or drum sieve. A tamis is a fine sieve used to sift and refine food products. It can help produce a smoother texture by separating fine particles from larger ones. Next is the colander. A colander is commonly used to drain and rinse food ingredients, particularly fruits, vegetables, pasta, and other ingredients that need to be separated from water. We also have the food mill. A food mill is used to puree and process soft-cooked foods. It can produce a relatively smooth texture while separating certain solids such as skins or seeds. Next is the box grater. A box grater provides several grating surfaces and can be used to grate ingredients into different textures, such as cheese, vegetables, or other food products. Moving to the right side, we have the mandoline. A mandoline is used to slice vegetables and other suitable ingredients into thin and uniform pieces. Its main advantage is consistency of thickness, which is important for both cooking and presentation. The channel knife is a specialized tool used to create narrow decorative channels or strips, particularly on the surface of fruits and vegetables. Next is the zester. A zester is used to remove the fine outer layer of citrus fruits, such as lemon, lime, or orange. The zest can be used to add aroma and flavor to various culinary preparations. Finally, we have the plane grater or microplane. This tool has a fine grating surface and is useful for producing very fine particles from ingredients such as citrus zest, cheese, garlic, or similar products. So let's review the main functions. Tamis, fine sifting and refining. Colander, draining and rinsing. Food mill, pureeing soft foods. Box grater, grating ingredients. Mandoline, producing thin, uniform slices. Channel knife, creating decorative channels. Zester, removing fine citrus zest. Plane grater, or microplane, producing very fine grated ingredients. As you can see, these hand tools support very specific preparation techniques. Their correct use can improve consistency, efficiency, texture, and presentation. For a culinary professional, mastering these simple tools is an important foundation before moving to more complex kitchen equipment. Now, let's continue with another group of hand tools used for specific preparation and handling tasks in the kitchen. First, we have the meat hammer. A meat hammer is used to tenderize and flatten meat. The textured surface helps break down the structure of the meat, while the flat side can be used to create a more even thickness. Next is the lobster cracker. This tool is designed to crack the hard shells of lobster and other shellfish, allowing us to access the edible meat inside. We also have the egg cutter. An egg cutter is used to cut or divide boiled eggs into more uniform pieces. It can be particularly useful for preparation and presentation. Next is the brush. Kitchen brushes are used for various preparation tasks, such as applying sauces, butter, oil, or glazes to food products. The type of brush should be selected according to the application and food preparation process. Moving down, we have the egg slicer. This tool is specifically designed to slice boiled eggs into even pieces. Its multiple cutting wires allow us to produce consistent slices quickly. The wooden spatula is another basic hand tool. It is commonly used for stirring, mixing, and turning food during cooking. Wooden utensils are particularly useful when working with cookware where we want to avoid scratching the cooking surface. Next is the funnel. A funnel helps us transfer liquids or small food ingredients into containers with narrow openings. It can reduce spills and make the transfer process more controlled. And finally, we have the garlic presser. A garlic presser is used to crush garlic cloves into a fine preparation. This makes garlic easier to incorporate into sauces, dressings, marinades, and other dishes. So, let's review. Meat hammer tenderizing and flattening meat. Lobster cracker cracking shellfish shells. Egg cutter cutting boiled eggs. Brush, applying oil, butter, sauce, or glaze. Egg slicer producing uniform egg slices. Wooden spatula, stirring and turning food. Funnel, transferring liquids or small ingredients. Garlic presser, crushing garlic. The important point from this section is that hand tools are designed to make specific culinary tasks easier and more consistent. As future culinary professionals, you should become familiar with these tools and understand not only their names, but also their functions, proper handling, cleaning, and safe storage. When you know your tools well, your work in the kitchen becomes more efficient, organized, and professional. Before we continue, let's have a quick review. Look at the 4 hand tools shown on this slide. I want you to identify the name of each tool and its function. Let's start with the tool at the top center. This is a mandoline. It is used to cut ingredients, especially vegetables, into thin and uniform slices. One of its main advantages is consistency in the thickness of the cuts. Now, look at the image on the upper right. This is a zester. It is used to remove the fine outer layer of citrus fruits, such as lemon, lime, or orange, without taking too much of the bitter white pith. Next, look at the large tool on the lower left. This is a box grater. It has several grating surfaces and can be used to grate ingredients such as cheese and vegetables into different textures. And finally, the long tool at the bottom is a microplane or plane grater. It is used to produce very fine grated ingredients such as citrus zest, cheese, garlic, or other ingredients that require fine texture. So let's review once again. Mandoline, thin and uniform slicing. Zester, removing fine citrus zest. Box grater, grating ingredients into different textures. Microplane, very fine grating. Now, before we move on, take a moment and ask yourself, can you recognize these tools just by their shape? And more importantly, can you explain when and why you would use each one? That is a level of understanding we want to develop as culinary professionals. All right, everyone, we have reached the end of our discussion for this session. Before we finish, it is time to check your understanding through our weekly quiz. Please scan the QR code shown on the slide and complete the quiz individually. The questions will review the topics we have discussed, including cooking equipment, processing equipment, holding and storage equipment, pots and pans, measuring devices, knives, and hand tools. When answering the questions, don't just rely on memorization. Try to connect each piece of equipment with its name, function, and appropriate use in a professional kitchen. For example, when you see different types of knives, think about their specific functions. The chef's knife is commonly used for general-purpose preparation, while a paring knife is more suitable for detailed work such as trimming fruits and vegetables. Please read each question carefully and select the answer that you believe is the most appropriate. This quiz is also an opportunity for you to identify which topics you already understand well and which areas you may need to review again. So please scan the QR code, complete the quiz, and make sure you submit your answers before leaving the class. Good luck, everyone. Do your best, and let's see how well you understand kitchen tools and equipment. All right, everyone, we have reached the assignment part of our lesson. For this assignment, you will work in groups. The class will be divided into 7 groups, and each group will create a short educational video about kitchen tools and equipment. The video should have a maximum duration of 45 seconds, so please make your explanation short, clear, informative, and interesting. Each group will be assigned a specific topic. Your topic can include information about cutting board color coding, your knife bag, pots and pans used in the kitchen, types of ovens, range tops, measuring devices, or processing equipment. In your video, don't just show the equipment, you need to explain the name of the equipment, its function, and how or when it is used in a professional kitchen. For example, if your group discusses a knife, you can explain the type of knife, its main function, and the food preparation task it is designed for. There are also several important requirements. First, your video must use the PIB logo only. Please do not include other institutional or commercial logos. Second, upload the video to your Instagram account and tag @MidderBillyTan and @PibCampus. Third, don't forget to use the required hashtags. #CulinaryArts, #CulinaryArtsStudents, #PibCampus, and #PibStudents. You have 1 week to complete this assignment. Remember, the objective is not simply to create a video. This assignment is designed to help you demonstrate your understanding of kitchen tools and equipment while developing your communication, teamwork, creativity, and digital presentation skills. So work together with your group, divide the responsibilities clearly, prepare your content carefully, and make sure the information you present is accurate. Keep it short, professional, and informative. Good luck, everyone, and I look forward to seeing your creative videos next week. Now let's look at how your assignment will be assessed. There are 4 assessment criteria with a total score of 100%. The first criterion is content, which carries the video includes some of the requirements, but it may address only one objective and contain limited visual and written information. At level 2, the video includes all assignment requirements and addresses all major aspects of the task. At level 3, the group presents a creative idea. The video includes all assignment requirements and all aspects of the assignment are addressed. The second criterion is video quality, which carries 20%. At level 1, the video is mostly unclear or blurry, making it difficult to understand. At level 2, the video is clear and the content can be seen and heard. At level 3, the video has high resolution and the content can be clearly seen and heard. The third criterion is using English, which also carries 20%. At level 1, the presentation uses Bahasa Indonesia. At level 2, the presentation mixes Bahasa Indonesia and English. At level 3, the presentation uses full English. The fourth criterion is time management, which carries the remaining 20%. At level 1, the file is collected late. At level 2, the file is collected on time. At level 3, the file is collected before the collection time. So, if you want to achieve the highest level, focus on 4 things. First, make sure your content meets all assignment requirements and presents a creative idea. Second, make sure your video is clear and has good quality. Third, Use English throughout your presentation. And fourth, submit your assignment before the deadline. Remember, a good assignment is not only about having the correct information, it is also about how clearly, creatively, and professionally you communicate that information. So please use this rubric as your guide when preparing your video. Good luck, everyone. All right, everyone, that brings us to the end of our lesson on kitchen tools and equipment. Today, we have explored a wide range of equipment used in professional kitchens, including cooking equipment, processing equipment, holding and storage equipment, pots and pans, measuring devices, knives, and various hand tools. I hope you now have a better understanding of not only the names of these tools and equipment, but also their functions and appropriate uses in a professional kitchen. Before our next meeting, please make sure you complete your group assignment and submit it according to the requirements and assessment rubric that we discussed. And for our next class, we will move from the equipment we use to an equally important topic, cooking methods. We will discuss how different cooking methods work, how heat is transferred to food, and how we can select the appropriate cooking method based on the characteristics of the ingredients and the desired final product. So please come prepared for our next session and be ready to participate. Thank you very much for your attention, your participation, and your hard work today. Merci beaucoup, everyone. Do you have any questions before we finish? See you in our next class. Have a great day and keep learning, keep practicing, and keep improving your culinary skills. See you next week.